May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be always found acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning. Once again, I wish you all a very blessed and joyous Thanksgiving. And whatever your plans are, may God be with you. I also want to thank Sue Ann McNear and Lisa Rose for helping organize the bingo night last night here at St. Matthias. Many of you, as I look out, attended that event, and it made me feel as though I was back in Roman Catholic. Well, I begin that way because I'm thinking a lot about how I'm going to spend my Thanksgiving weekend. I won't be here next Sunday. The Reverend Martha Jenkins will be here. Thank you. It will be Martha's first effort at conducting a service since her recent total knee replacement. And so please be very supportive of Martha, not just verbally, but perhaps even physically next week as well. I'm thinking about going up to Maryland and seeing my daughter and son-in-law along with their two children, the lights of Laura's and my life, our two grandchildren, Sabine, whom we call Beanie, and Sloan, whom I call the 3-year-old version of John Boucher. I'm excited about all of that. Can't wait to be with family. And then I read the gospel passage. It's the only part of Mark's gospel where there's an explicit reference to Jesus entering the city of David, which is, of course, Jerusalem. And obviously, while he's in Jerusalem in Mark's gospel passage, one of the things that awes his followers is the temple, this great building. For the Jewish faith and for those who follow the Jewish religion, that was their Taj Mahal. It was the greatest building of its day when Jesus walked the face of the earth in what we call Palestine. The building was enormous by Jewish standards and well kept up and well maintained. Every good, faithful, practicing Jew was expected to make a contribution to the coffers. The Jewish people, incidentally, have a wonderful way of approaching stewardship. If you don't give to your local synagogue or to the temple treasury, the other Jews who are faithful are excluded from doing any business with you. That puts a new edge onto what stewardship is all about in Judaism. But we don't do that in Christianity. We have a sense, though, of wanting to make our places of worship absolutely gorgeous. When I was growing up, I heard the moniker, which I think is still true, which is, if you really want to see a beautiful parish church or a beautiful, magnificent cathedral, don't take a look at the Roman Catholic or even the Presbyterian churches. Take a look at the Episcopal churches. They're the ones that know how to construct beautiful buildings. And when I came into the Episcopal Church almost 40 years ago now, that moniker was confirmed in my mind. I have served many Episcopal churches which were beautiful to begin with, and which became even more beautiful under my tenure. It was just something that I have done instinctively to make that which needed improvement better, and to make that which needed expansion beautiful. Now, that was the case when I came to St. Matthias Matthias was beginning, just in the very first days of beginning an expansion to its physical plan. And Mary Boynton and I had offices that had been relocated to Christian education classrooms. And they were makeshift offices because frequently, with construction going on, we have to dust layers of dust off of our desks in the morning. And about a month or so after I came, I went into my office in the morning, and Mary Boynton pointedly asked me to go out to lunch with her that day. And when I came back from lunch, I knew why Mary Boynton had asked me to leave, because my office was no more. The workmen had come in, and because of the new construction, cut my office in half. And I didn't even know where the telephone was, which was a blessing in a way. But thanks to so many of you, Jerry and Amenta Buckner, so many of you, we've made great strides to this building. The men's group, which at that time was composed of myself, Bill Van Arnhem, and Barry Case, met for almost 6 months on little chairs from the children's classrooms. I know for Bill and I, our legs got in the way sitting in those chairs. At the earlier service where Barry Case was, he said, well, those chairs were just right for me. We had a lot of laughs about that, but we obviously knew that we needed something better in terms of physical plan. And so, over the past 13 years, we've gone from having an $800,000 debt, a mortgage on this physical plan, to nothing. And you've heard Ned Armstrong mention all of the improvements to the choir, to the program life of this congregation, and to the outreach programs. And they have been remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And then you come across this pericope, this passage in Mark's Gospel, where Jesus and his followers are coming out of the temple, and they can't help but comment on Jesus saying, do you see these great buildings? Not one stone will be left here upon another, and all will be thrown away. Which kind of deflates my ego about physical plan that we have here in Christ. I can't help but begin the process of wondering, and I've wondered all week, about why it is that we've all gone through this exercise of having what is now certainly a building that meets our needs and then some. It makes us comfortable to be able to come in and worship in such a gorgeous place with brand new carpeting, great acoustics. You know, the Richmond Symphony doesn't hold its auditions for its new members down at the Carpenter Center. They hold their auditions for their new members right here because the acoustics are better in this building where I'm speaking and where you're sitting than at the Carpenter Center. There's so many things that we can be proud of that cause us to wonder, whose God are we really worshiping after all? Are we just simply saluting ourselves for all that we've done? Or is there a reason for all of this building? Well, God has a way of speaking. So on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, I was away in Kamchenko at a clergy conference. And as I got back on Wednesday evening, I knew that there was a training session, a workshop, for those who are involved in the healing ministry here at St. Matthias. And there's a wonderful priest named Sandy Kerner, who whom we had contracted with to lead that workshop with already existing members of the healing ministry and those who wanted to join it. And I knew we were going to have a good turnout, and I wanted to be present at least to thank Sandy for all of the work that she was about to do with our team. And when I got here on Wednesday at about 6:45, I came up to that door that enters into the commons area, and I saw something that I don't recall ever seeing before. I saw a sleeping bag with what had to be a body inside of it. I didn't know if it was even moving. And I was slightly afraid when I said to that sleeping bag with the zipper zipped up, "Hello? Is anybody in there?" And sure enough, there was a man in there, a homeless man. And to the best of my knowledge, it was the very first time at St. Matthias that I've ever seen the homeless come to want to sleep and find a sense of safety and security on church steps. I've served in other congregations in downtown areas where it's rather common, I think, for 3 or 4, perhaps more homeless people to make their homes at night on church steps. Perhaps you've seen some of that as well. But I've never seen it at St. Matthias before. And kind over that body, not kind of wondering whether or not I should do something to remove him from the church premises. And he said, "Well, it's all right that I'm here. That lady inside told me that I could sleep here tonight." I wanted to find out who that lady was. Walked inside, and here's Laura making coffee. I knew if I wanted to go home that night, sleep in my own bed, that I better not contradict what Laura had given this man permission to do. And shortly after I arrived, there were many of you, some of whom are present right now, who walked in after me and saw this gentleman and said, "Is that all right? Is it okay? What's going on?" Those are legitimate questions. And even though I had some reservations about Laura's decision, I must confess, I let it stand. And I'm glad I did. Because 2 things happened. Number 1, it made me realize that even though we didn't invite that gentleman inside of our building to spend the night, which is another kind of way of inviting people to the church, at least the building served some function for meeting his needs. He needed to have a sense of security and safety by somehow sleeping on the steps, if you will, of St. Matthias. And I realized that to some extent, we're not just meeting our own needs by having homeless people gather at our doorsteps, but we're meeting the needs of someone else who is homeless. He needed us, and he needed our building. He needed the safety that it could provide, and he needed even the warmth that somehow must have emanated from inside out. And that was all. What really transformed me was a sense that I needed him, and so do we all. Because he put in perspective what Christianity is all about. You know, for 13 years, I've fretted along with every one of you about how this building is going to look. I've fretted with all of you about how we go about observing holy days. I've fretted with all of you about what worship service is going to look like. And I realized that if I'm not careful, that's all I will fret about, and I'll miss the gospel. That man reminded me of what Jesus was about. So just as he needed us, so also do I need him, and so do you. As we go about beginning Advent, remember that Christmas is not just about making us feel more comfortable. It's not just about decorating this church so that it looks spectacular. It's about encountering the Christ in others. It's about realizing that when we think we are not needy, we need to think again. We need everybody to become the body of